Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Thanks for coming. Is there any public comment? Okay, did everybody have a chance to read the minutes from the last two meetings? I guess it would be the special meeting and the main meeting, right? If there's no changes, we'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
on the airport manager update, the silver air cadets should be silver air patrol.
Okay, sorry.
Oh.
Okay,
Silver.
what was that? Civil Air Patrol.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
I
you.
kind of like silver air cadets. But
I had to listen to that. I don't know how many
I know I mumble.
Sounds a little meatier.
yeah,
Civil Air
I want to be a part of that group.
I made up a new group.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was wondering what that was, actually. I forgot about that.
Okay, all in favor of the minutes with the one correction, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, financial report and claims.
All right, so if you look at your financial reports in your cash account, you have $39,265.59. In your CIP cash account, $462,062.51. And I have 3 claims when you're ready.
Far away.
All right, so we have one for Castle Mountain Sales for the sprinkler system winterization base for $85. We have a bedbug flea fogger for $18.49 at Townsend Hardware. And you guys get the illustrious job of paying for my McAfee, which is $89.99. The Trust Board got that one last year, so it's your turn. So, to protect my computer at home.
You bet.
Thank you.
Good idea.
What do we do? Motion to approve the claims? So
I'll
what
make
we
a motion
normally,
to approve the claims.
thank you, I'm drawing a blank.
Just about done here.
I'll move to approve the claims.
Hey, good job.
I'll second.
You remembered your training.
I know, I had to back it up and go, yeah, okay.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion on the claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Dale, you have a quick update on RPA?
Yeah, so just briefly talked with Lance this afternoon. Him and one of his coworkers were busy completing the Montana Aeronautics grants in relation to our project coming up. So they're estimating the project to be a $6 million project, which would be a $600,000 local match. Their hope is that Montana Aeronautics may contribute 6%, which would leave the balance for us to.
Balance of 4% for the
Yeah.
city and county.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So we'll see how it turns out.
right.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll skip past the next one here with lease discussion with Corey or Jania. Daryl, would you like to discuss the Wade Litton lease now, or should we move on and wait?
Well, that's kind of probably going to tie into what their discussion is. I was waiting to.
Well, let's
hear
do
back
this
from
then.
them,
Let's
so-
do the airport manager. And
Yeah,
Mhm.
let's do that.
So we're on the spot right away here. Dwight Thompson, airport manager. So I did attend on the 24th of October and 25th the fall airport manager FAA meeting up in Helena. And the take-home messages I got is that they are out of money again, and they said that airports are going to have to, runways are going to need to be used longer than what we're expecting them because there's not the money. And I didn't know if Lance said anything to you about that at all, but it was kind of a broad statement. Through the fence aircraft are not to be counted any longer for airports. And so I think we just have the one in Bog, but and that airport isn't really under the FAA stuff, but there was just a comment that was made there. They'd like
Speak
us.
up a little bit, please.
Oh, what's that? Speak up? I'm sorry. They'd like to see us show an increase in the number of takeoff and landings at the small airports. They're looking for around a number around 15. That really makes a difference on what they look at for funding, whether or not they're going to throw money at the smaller airports. I really think that we have that here. It's just what's been happening. Like Darryl was talking about 3 airplanes yesterday or whatever sitting out there. Today there's none. So and those 15s are both takeoffs and landings. So I think we're well over that, but I don't know how to count that.
Yeah, we had talked about that. I think you and I were standing on the ramp, and I don't know, how many do you think we get? And we made a guess, and as we were standing there talking about it, it already had exceeded that or something, so I don't know how to count it.
Yeah. So if we can show that we're having more than 15 takeoff and landings, well, each one of those counts as one. That goes in favor for us as far as what they look at for throwing money to the airports.
I wonder if there's a way that we could get some kind of an estimation from Chris, because he has to account for a majority, or not a majority, but, a
Yeah.
good chunk.
Just from him.
Just from him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you could just increase it by whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if a guy could look at the
So,
cameras. It'd
do
take a
they-
little while.
Do they, yeah, I mean, you could even set out a game camera to it'd just catch the motion.
Sure.
And it would,
That's
and
right.
it would
Yeah.
toggle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to ask them, do they want an estimation or just proof that over X amount of time that you have that average?
Yeah,
So,
that's a good idea. We could try
Great
s-
idea.
or, even like when they check people coming through a door, if you had 2 sensors that if it crossed it, you'd be fine. So, more stuff to maintain, but
We should be able to, they're talking 15 takeoffs and landings a month, huh?
A day.
A day.
Yeah. Yeah. 15 things go by, either landing or takeoffs. Yeah.
The only way that I know that we'd have something already is the fuel receipts. You got a transit plane, they come in and bought fuel, that'd be two numbers right there.
Right there,
for
yeah,
Somebody that landed
yeah.
and took off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'd be surprised how much is being used out there. It's
Yeah.
kind of,
We have the same thing on 8U9, except it varies because we don't have fuel there. But you catch a nice day, almost every morning about 7:30, there's some guy comes in and shoots a couple touch and goes.
yeah,
But he sometimes lets it roll out and turn around, back taxi and come in
Come
and
back
take off. But you get a nice day, you might have 4 or 5 of them in the morning.
yeah, absolutely. There's a program called the ACRP, Airport Corporate Research Program, and it's a program that's helps with managing small airports, and they're going to be kicking that off a little bit more this year. So you guys will be seeing more from that, I think, coming your way. There's up to 26 webcams up and running, and so 8U9 Canyon Ferry as an example of what we're just talking about. I put up the registry out there, the pilot registry, and it's being used. People are actually, I see your name in there, Adam. People are actually taking a little bit of time to stop by, and I put a little note there that ask pilots to give us an idea of that the airport's being used, and people are signing in. So that's a nice thing that's seen out there. Today the runway was rolled, and hopefully this will get us through now till spring. So it's rolled a total of 3 times this summer, or this year. 1 in spring, 1 in summer, and 1 today. We're still waiting to hear a cost on siting the roof and metal and the siding on the outhouse, and Daryl's been working on that.
Yeah.
Did we hear anything back?
No, I think he just got sidetracked, so I'll keep working on that.
Okay. On 8U8 Townsend, Aubrey and I have been working on moving the files from the pilot lounge over to the courthouse in the basement there. They gave us a couple of file cabinets. I think the biggest thing is there's a lot of files that probably need to be purged. And there's old files, I brought some more on budget, I don't know if you saw those. And I don't know how relevant those are, but certainly the minutes. And what we found that a lot of the minutes, you might find them in a drawer here and in another drawer here, they're not all together. And yeah, I think it would be kind of nice if we did save those files just for future for the boards and for future boards to look back and have a written copy of the minutes. I don't feel though. I don't think I should be what I'd like to see is a committee maybe of some of the board, and Albert and I could certainly help out to sit down and maybe purge those and bring them together or whatever. But I don't know which would be the good things and the.
Aren't the minutes available electronically?
That's 2012.
Yeah.
I have in my possession 2012.
Okay.
And I think it'd also be nice to have a written copy back up.
Anything before that, no. They didn't start the electronic
Yeah.
system till then.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to a committee doing it.
There's some
The
good
synapses
records.
in the brain that relate to filing, I was born without, so I'm. Me too. If I'm the best one for that.
We just don't want to throw out anything that's important that needs to be there. So far we have not thrown out anything.
I'll volunteer.
Yeah,
It's fun to go through the history.
yeah, it is. It really is. There's.
Cool.
But I've seen where there's some months or spaces where there of time where there was nothing filed. So I don't know what had happened, but they may show up in other areas of the files that we did put away. So yeah, so whatever works good for you, Rob. We can meet with Auburn and we can.
If you get overwhelmed, I'd be willing to.
Oh, yeah, I think there is some really good history there and stuff. So something to learn.
Daryl, I mentioned something to Dwight when my term for chairman of the board was finished. I took 3 large, this end of them was about that tall, binders over to Mike Ferguson.
Oh,
And it had everything from past budgets to minutes to all kinds of stuff. And I know Adam asked when he was elected to the board, I think he asked Mike or Jeannie, and they claimed they didn't have them. They're there someplace.
There's binders in there. There
Yeah.
are 2 big binders in there. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, and they are in the back of a file cabinet. They stuck them in the back. I don't know
Is
if
that
that's-
right?
I don't know if that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
One's kind of a white binder.
They were
Yeah.
white.
Oh, okay. One's a black binder and one's a white
Yeah,
binder.
there were 3 white ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's some other files that also have dates. It'd be nice to put all those together and to go through that and clean it up. And I think we could probably come up with some pretty accurate minutes.
yeah, I think
what
it's
we
important to
have.
keep that.
Okay.
Just recently I had to go research a bunch of stuff, and it was great to go back and find it. And gives you an idea what folks were thinking at that time, and some of the conversations that went on. So I think we need to preserve what we think is important. Really
And
do.
good call on bringing them to the courthouse too.
I think they're more secure that way, and it might be more access to the board too, and less access to the general public that may be able to get to them. So I did have to close the airport back on the 27th of October to the 30th. We had a snowstorm that week, and Tuesday it was IFR and blowing snow and everything, so we didn't ask the county to plow. But Wednesday it was a little nicer. The county did go out and plow, which unfortunately made things worse because that night it snowed again and blew again and made the drifts bigger. Of course, they don't work on Thursdays. It was the weekend, and of course on Friday and Saturday the sun was out. It was a beautiful day, but they didn't work, so we had to close the airport for those 4 days. I am working with Daryl and the county crew about the possibility of using their snowplow on days that they can't do it, or weekends or something. And in their defense, on Monday, they had people that they had to get out. School bus routes and different things. people, and so they got there in a timely fashion, but Saturday or Sunday, I could have probably plowed that. And so it's a work in progress with that snowplow. I won't try to take over their duties, but in times that they need some help, I'll try to help out there.
Did we end up adding that to the list with Lance as an idea for future down the road?
I believe it was on the long term.
Was
Yep.
it? Okay.
The CIP, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yep. We did.
So we do have fertilizer purchased. I'm just waiting for a time to meet up with Adam.
Yeah,
if he gets
sorry.
now that he's out of the mountains, we can get that
I was going to
applied.
bring that up. What's the consensus? Is it still a good time of year to do it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the bags. They're just out there under this shelter right now. So there's just
Yeah, we should be able to wrap that up by 27 or 28.
Okay. I'll get on you now that you're back.
Good.
So I have been called a couple occasions on the fuel card reader. Recently, just yesterday, it's been having some hiccups, and when the purchaser switches credit cards, it seems to make it difference. It seems like it'll go, but sometimes it's and of course just MasterCard and Visa seem to it takes it. But the guy had a MasterCard. It's just the one card it would not take, and he switched to a different card. So after he did that, it worked fine. So just to be aware of it, I guess it's just kind of on and off type of a problem. I did send off the request from Lincoln. They're considering putting it on fuel. Darrell sent me a questionnaire that they had sent, and I sent that off to them, how we're doing with the fuel, the questions I could answer. Some of the questions, as far as the fuel numbers that you have, I wasn't able to answer for them. So here's a thing, I don't know if this is my place or not, but I would like to request to the board that we consider opening up those two other hangar lots for general aviation and push off the FBO thought. Reason for it, if we had a guy looking for an FBO, I think they're going to be looking at numbers of aircraft and airplanes and stuff here, and we have people on the list that want to put up hangars. And I think the long-range goals, from what I'm hearing from you guys, was that maybe on this new taxiway and hangar, that'd be a better place to have somebody that have an FBO. For me, it's hard to vision an FBO on that spot without any place for parking, other than just coming onto the airport. And I don't know, I just think it's time to maybe see if we can open those up to somebody that needs a hangar.
Okay,
Like to put up a hangar.
I'm going to put that as a new business item. We can have a discussion there.
Okay. And in the future, like Darrell said, today was the deadline for the Montana Aeronautics applications for their grants. And a couple things that we had talked with Bob about and hopefully was thinking about maybe the metal siding for the outhouse and things like that. And I didn't have any bids or anything to put in, so we didn't get anything from my side put in for the grants. But they did, tell me that small projects and stuff that we need some help with to really consider putting into those. So we'll try to work a little harder on getting something put in for next year. I know Darrell was saying that Pekka is working on some today for us. So so just some fun info though. The Winter Survival Clinic, if you haven't ever applied that or done that, that's the January 5th and the 7th. The Montana Aviation Conference in Butte is February 29th and March 2nd. And then there's a flight instructor refresher course February 2nd and 3rd, and that's open to all pilots. You don't have to be a flight instructor. They actually encourage even students to come to that. And you don't have to be a CFI to attend. Then I attended last night a history of aviation in Montana. And some interesting things that was about that was I always thought that men were the forerunners in aviation. Turns out in Montana, the first person to actually fly in the air was a female. And she wasn't in an airplane. She was actually parachuting out of a tethered balloon. but she is listed as the first person to fly in Montana. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. And you know, the other take-home thing, of all the history of aviation, I was sitting there looking at some aged people like Daryl and Seth.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, you think about it. You know, these guys have been flying for Bob. You guys have been flying for years. And 100 years ago we were in our infancy of aviation, and look how many years you've been flying. It's pretty remarkable that.
We're still flying airplanes from that vintage too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's pretty cool though. You think about that. You know, it's like holy mackerel. Well, that's all I have. Any questions from the board? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're vintage too.
Classic. Well, just so we don't keep Jania waiting, would you like to come back? Okay, so here we are at airport lease discussion with county attorney.
Good evening. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about that one. What I had prepped for you a little bit was a little bit more of the next one down.
Sure, that's fine.
Which was
Wade Litton.
Wade Litton. And kind of a discussion on that particular issue. So what I have been told, Corey and I talked a little bit, and that Mr. Litton has not signed the lease that has been given to him. Is that still the state of where we're at?
Last I heard. Yeah.
Last we heard? Okay. So, what I've been told is that you guys are wanting to kind of know next steps of what to do, and where to go from here. Am I on the right track?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, if you look, I have pulled up the lease of the previous person who had leased that particular hangar. And it doesn't have page numbers on here, but toward the back, there's a subsection C in there called Title II Improvements. I wish I had page numbers. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's on page 6 in there. And what it says in there, I'm just going to read out loud to you guys because I don't know if you all have the same lease in front of you, so I'm going to read it out loud to you. Title to any improvements constructed by the lessee shall remain in the lessee until termination or cancellation of this lease as provided hereunder. Okay? And the lessee right now is the previous person who owned this. Right. So lessee shall have the right to sell or otherwise convey ownership of any building or other improvements to another party prior to termination or cancellation of this lease, which is what happened in this case. It shall be the responsibility of the owner of such buildings or other improvements to maintain the continuity of the lease. So it is the responsibility of the new owner to maintain the continuity of the lease. So it is his responsibility to sign a lease with you. If he continues to refuse to do so, it says in here, lessee shall have 90 calendar days to remove any such improvement from the leased premises and shall return the leased premises in the condition that they were in at the commencement of this lease, or such other condition as specified by the airport board at the lessee's whole, sole, and entire expense. So essentially, what you can tell him is that he is required to sign a lease, and if he continues to refuse to sign a lease, I think you could start maybe 90 days to take the building off is a pretty extreme thing, right? What you could start with is if you don't sign a lease, then in 90 days you will no longer have access to the hangar. And if you continue to not sign the lease, at some point we will basically terminate and you will have to completely remove from the premises. I'm also hearing there's a problem on this one of him failing to pay the yearly lease price. So because every year everyone is required to pay leases, and I know you guys had talked about that at a previous meeting, and there had been some notices sent out, and this is one of the cases where there has not been a payment. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So that is also another violation, to fail to pay.
And I'll just add, I think one of the first things he's going to say is it took us, all of us, so long to get him the lease. I just want to make everybody aware that that will be one of the first things he says.
True, and I do think he will say that. At this point, though, what I would say is he's had, I think we've given him the lease, was it 4 months ago that I was working with
I
you
don't
guys on
recall
that?
off the top of my head, but it was,
It's pretty close to that, yep.
And so he has now had the lease for a while. We have had multiple conversations with him about signing the lease, and he has verbally told us he's not going to sign it. So at some point, while yes, it did take us a long time to get it to him, if he's refusing to sign it, then we do need to go to the next step to figure out what to do, because the challenge is if we'll continue to allow him to stay there and not to follow a lease, even though he's been given one, we're setting up a dangerous precedent. And yeah, and ultimately it's county land, and you can't just allow people to use it without having a lease to use it. So, so yeah.
and even so, if we get started, like you say, we're still 90 days out from the next steps.
Yes.
So
So what my advice to you guys would be is, if you want, is to direct my office to write a draft letter for you that I have permission to get to Adam, and to allow us to work together to write a draft letter to this effect to Mr. Littleton.
I would suggest
Be done.
that I call him and just have a polite conversation, and hopefully we move it along that way. And if that fails, then we get a letter drafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a time limit you're willing to give him in the conversation?
Well, let's just see how the conversation goes. If it's yeah, that sounds great, then I guess we better have a time limit. If it's absolutely not, then well, that makes it pretty simple.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on time limit? I'm just reading here.
Well, I think after the conversation, the 90-day time is appropriate, just based on what you're saying, because I mean, we're already out at, 120 days at this point since original discussions.
Mm-hmm.
And as you suggested, giving 90 days is very reasonable, based in terms of the conversations that have taken place. So at that point, you're out an incredibly long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so action will need to be taken at the end of that 90 days.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say if potentially, because Mr. Litton, the last time he was here, referenced that there were phone conversations and it turned into a he said kind of deal. Maybe
Maybe it's not
that
the best idea.
to have an additional board member there to witness the conversation so that it's clear and concise what was said. And not that I wouldn't trust you, it's just that it seemed like when he brought it up previously that he insinuated that things were said that weren't said.
Sure.
Or things were
And-
misinterpreted.
Would I be out of line in terms of, I believe the law allows an individual to record a conversation?
Only if the other individual knows that you're recording.
Right.
Yeah. So you could ask him at the beginning of the conversation, I'd like to record this conversation. Do I have your permission? If he denies it, though, then you cannot record.
I think that might be a way to approach this, is to basically say we're going to have a conversation if you're willing to be recorded.
I think he's going to take a lot of offense to that and become combative.
Yeah.
So it negates the whole objective of me calling him.
I think that Seth is on track with having a second person. I think that's very smart because
Just listening in.
Yep. And I think that, in my opinion, if we want to take this approach, which I think is probably appropriate from my exposure to the situation, and I think that if you could talk to him with somebody else and give him, you have 30 days to get this in. If in 30 days it's not in, we provide him with the letter from the county attorney that says you have 90 days to do this. We're essentially giving him an extra 30 days, but I think that with everything that has gone on, that's the least we can do.
Yeah. A quote-unquote gentleman's agreement
Yeah.
before it becomes ungentlemanly.
I will second having another person there, or I know recording might get him upset, but he has in conversations with me said that things were said that we were later able to show through recordings from meetings that was not actually what was said. So there has been a little bit of him saying to me, oh, well, I was told certain things that we've later been able to show were not what he was told. So having another person there would be wise. And also after that meeting, having both of you sit down and write out what happened in that conversation so that you're both very clear about, each write your own version of what happened, right? So that if something comes back and he later is saying, oh, you said this, then you can both refer to your notes and know what you actually said. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Further question, do you need to inform him there's another person listening in on a conversation?
I would. I absolutely would. I never do. When I have two people in my office, I never do a phone call.
Okay.
Where
so
I don't tell
Not a
them.
phone call, so it's a face-to-face meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would need to be full disclosure.
Yeah.
You don't want.
Well, yeah,
anything to come
we
back,
just
yeah.
said, hey, I'm on the phone here with so-and-so, and we'd like to talk to you about A, B, and C.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the
Okay.
speakerphone. I got so-and-so in my office.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there something in the, I don't know how much you can disclose, and I don't quite remember how it all played out when we started redoing the lease, but from my personal conversations, where it is maybe muddy is that he assumed one thing. Now, again, it's he said, she said, but is the county, because there wasn't a lease available for him at the time of his purchase, is the county responsible for something?
So I could do a little bit of additional research on that issue for you, but one thing I would say is it does say in this lease that the builder is responsible to maintain the lease. Now, there is that problem of we didn't have a lease at the time because we were trying to fix the lease, and it did take some time. I need to figure out how many months it took, but it did take some time to get him a lease. So there is that problem there. So yes, I do think that's going to get brought up. I do think that that's an issue that we need to address. But I don't necessarily think that means that we don't move forward with trying to resolve the issue.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm in full support. You're at the hangar, you need to be paying, you need to be in a lease, like that's what it says. But I just didn't know if there was, because it was kind of a unique situation where there wasn't quite a lease for him to sign initially, and then that's where I think it kind of got muddy.
Yeah, I do. I agree. I think that's where it got a little bit muddy. I think, if he was saying I needed more time, it might be a little bit of a different thing. But he's saying no, and that's a lot of a different answer to me.
Yeah.
So, just a point of clarification, what is the issue in the lease that he's unwilling to sign the lease?
The hangar home.
Okay.
The restriction
I
on
just
hangar
wanted
homes.
to confirm that's what we were talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
He asked my office to modify that condition, and we did not agree to that. And I guess we could have brought that to the board, but we didn't make that agreement.
So has he offered up any part of his buy-sell to show that it was contingent on there being a hangar home?
I have not seen it, no.
Okay. And
Have you? Has anybody?
No.
would in the purchase of a tract, much like how the railroad leases out their things, would any transfer of title of those units, would they be contingent on securing a lease? I mean,
That's an excellent question. I don't know off the top of my head. Daryl,
because
have you looked at it all?
the county could almost defer this back to the prior owner.
I do think that there is responsibility on the prior owner to notify, the next person who's purchasing.
I looked up the listing and it didn't say, when I could find it, I think I forwarded it on, it didn't say anything about I don't remember, maybe I should look it back up, but I don't think it had language in there as such. But we'd have to pull the prior listings to see what was advertised, and then it might just be more or less a dispute between the two parties.
Yeah.
Because the transaction took place well after the FAA rule about hangar homes.
It did, well after, yeah.
Wow.
So, I hate to point that out, but I mean,
It's a
we
legit
can
thing.
we can hand them all those things, and then in addition, my thought would be is if it comes down to that he stated that it was value oriented and he was losing value. The value is determined by the market, and he'd have to sell it to say that he actually had to lose it to prove it. So I think there's a lot of stuff to mull over there, but I don't think the county's on the hook for too awful much.
The previous owner had been made aware of Plenty Plain, back even to the point he could not have his motorhome inside airport property.
And we have those things on, were they emailed to him or just verbally?
I think he got a letter, didn't he, Daryl?
I don't know.
It'd be
He
helpful.
got a letter.
I was gonna ask, do we know if he had access to the prior lease, prior to purchase?
Yes, yeah,
He did.
He brought it here.
Because he was assuming
so
he was
he had-
going to take that one over.
And he understood that there was no requirement for that lease to be transferred to him?
I mean, it's definitely in the lease.
It's in the lease.
It's there, and I don't know,
Yeah.
I can't speak to what he did or didn't
No,
understand,
but I mean,
but,
Since he
yeah.
had the lease and brought it here, I would assume that he would have read it and would have read that portion of the lease, I guess, since we know he had it in his possession. So I think that's an aspect too, that he was aware that.
Yeah, it's in subsection E
Yeah.
right here, and Daryl read it in previous minutes,
Right.
but
Exactly. That
it
was-
says that without the express prior written consent, which was, unless he can provide that document that we expressly gave him written consent to assume the lease,
No.
then he
Which we
gets the
didn't.
lease that we did.
Right.
It's
Okay.
just math at that point.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, so when you have your conversations, you'll talk about both issues? Not paying his lease and signing his lease payment?
I can.
Because he's overdue since, July 31st?
Yes, and the letter was sent October 20th.
And how
So
long did that letter
July
give?
31st was the,
I can't remember, how long did that letter give for him to make a payment?
I have a copy of the letter right here.
So had he made payments prior to that?
I don't
He
know.
wouldn't,
no,
he was the new owner.
So the title of transfer was this July? Okay,
Yeah, prior to that.
prior to that.
So it says, please provide payment to the Broadwater County Treasurer by November 30th,
Okay.
2023. This was sent October 20th.
Oh, so he has a few
So he
days.
still has a little bit more time on that.
October
So the-
20th letter said pay by what date?
October 30th?
No, paid by November 30th?
No, November 30th, excuse me. Yes.
And the date of, here it is, date of the letter is
Got about
October
15 days left.
So your conversation can just refer to the upcoming payment due date.
Yeah.
Is a way to start the conversation.
Is there proof that he received the letter?
I wouldn't think
I sent it
so.
through the-
No,
Just comes regular mail.
we all agreed we'd take the nice route,
Mm-hmm.
which we did,
Okay.
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so we're just gonna have a simple, polite conversation about his intentions on whether or not to sign the lease. And the fact that payment is due and if he intends on sending payment. Based on that conversation, then we'll know the next steps.
Yeah. I'd say maybe talk to Daryl and let him know how that conversation goes, and then he can get a hold of my office, or you can call me too.
Okay.
But another thought would be, do you want to, because you talked about giving him 30 days after that conversation, do you want to then revisit this at your next meeting and do a vote on the letter at that time? Or do you want to vote today to do the letter today? That's kind of your guys'
Or
option.
you can give him the date of the next meeting, and then we can approve the letter at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I mean, the next meeting's relatively 30 days from now, so it's
Right.
not like it's,
right.
but just give him that as a deadline.
Yeah.
If he wants to
it'd
show
make
up,
it
he can
clean.
show up. If
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not, then we're gonna vote on the next.
Yeah.
So the conversation
that
probably
keeps
sooner
it for
than later.
parliamentary
Mhm.
procedure. It keeps it much more clean.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That way we're not taking preemptive action
Yes.
as a board. Yep.
Okay.
Do you guys have a copy of this lease of his that I'm looking at? Do I need to go make a copy for you all and bring it back for you guys, or do I need to, Adam, would it help you if I like emailed it to you? How do you guys?
I have, I think the previous version or the unofficial version, but yes, that would be great.
Would that be good? I think I have your email, don't I? Have I
would
emailed
think.
you, possibly?
I'm sure.
Okay, so I can scan the one that I've got with signatures and all of that, and I can send it to you. And Daryl, do you know, can you get things to the board? Do you have that?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
just
I
go through
reckon.
Abra.
Oh, Abra, I'm sorry, Abra, I
Okay, no.
don't mean to cut you out.
No, whatever.
So you guys want me to just send it to Abra, and then
Does
she
it
can get it out to you
Does
guys?
this have the signature on it?
It does.
Okay.
It's the official one with the signature.
I have his file, I think I have his file at my house, but yes, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, and that way everybody
December
has
20th.
Yep, right.
the official one. Okay,
Okay, so to December 20th meeting, we will, if necessary, if no traction has been made, then we'll vote on the next steps.
Okay.
Okay.
sounds good. Is there anything else you guys need from me?
Thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely. If you need anything else, let us know, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who would like to be on the phone with me?
Thanks,
Seth, would you like to
Yeah.
have that conversation with him?
I'm sure.
Or is if anybody have a good rapport with Wade?
I don't have any reports, so maybe
So maybe that's just as
Okay.
well.
it's. I wouldn't do much talk. I wouldn't do much talking. It's. If I was to sit in, I would request that we maybe sit down and go over, make the bullet points of what topics we want to hit, and then stick to that and not venture outside the lines too awful much. Just kind of a bikini length thing and enough to cover the subject.
Unless somebody else has a burning desire, then Seth and I will
Yeah.
take the call. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yes.
I'll get a hold of you tomorrow, so we don't waste everybody's time scheduling a time.
Are we sticking with the December 20th meeting next month? Is that?
I
that
think
would
that's
be-
great.
Okay.
Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, and potentially try
What day
next
is the
week
20th? Wednesday.
for a phone call.
Sure. Or
Or this
tomorrow,
week.
for crying out loud, whatever.
Yeah, I'm fairly open this week. I'm pretty well scheduled Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So, yeah, tomorrow or Friday.
I'll call you tomorrow. We'll figure that out. Okay. Good. Any other comments or discussion on that topic? Okay, we're going to move along. Fuel pricing. I have some thoughts. I am of the opinion that we should buy a partial load. And here is why. So right now we have, and thank you for getting the fuel level as always, we have about 4,900 gallons. Over the last 55 days, we're only going through about 20 or 21 gallons a day, which means at the winter consumption level and our current price, we still have 6 months of fuel left. And our fuel is now 11 months old, and we had discussed 2 months ago about how that is not a deadline. It is a best practice to refresh your fuel every 9 months, and I'm starting to get a little nervous about the age of our fuel. So, and given that the price right now is $4.36 for a half load, it's $4.58. If we were to add our 83 cents, that puts us at $5.41. So if we were to get a half load right now, we could lower our fuel price by, what is that, 54 cents?
Yep.
We
I think that'd be a smart move.
we
It
refresh
covers
the
two
fuel,
bases.
we lower our fuel price. Okay, so I assumed everybody would agree with that. So I already called Megan and told her to put us on the short list for a half load. Now, sometimes you get a call the next day and sometimes you get a call a month later, I don't
All right.
know. But we're on the list for,
And it doesn't lock that price in then?
no, it does not.
Okay.
It's locked in the moment the truck leaves the thing, I think.
So there still is some variability.
There's still variability, although the calendars are in our favor at this point.
Yeah,
Now, who knows, but
but ultimately it'll still lower your price, which might drive demand up a little more.
yeah, and just because I told her to put us on the list doesn't mean we're obligated. So if she calls us in a week and the prices jumped $1, I'm gonna say thanks, but no thanks. No, I don't think
Yeah.
that's gonna happen, but anyway, so I guess that's, the game plan then. I'm gonna try for a half load sometime soon. We are in that about 3-month window when the prices,
That'd give us about 9,000 gallons or a little over.
yes. And sometimes a partial load is 4,500, sometimes it's 7,000, which we couldn't take, unless it took her a while to get us a load or whatever, but we'll just cross that bridge when we get there, but we'll attempt to fill the thing or take whatever the load is. And then we could lower the price, and I think that would kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so.
So Mr. Chairman, are you just leaving the price as it is until that load is in, and then you'll let me know when you want me to change the
Yeah, I
price?
think,
or-
well, I think we should leave the price as is now, just because of our replacement cost, unless somebody thinks we should lower it now.
Let's leave the price right there where it is, and,
I agree.
And what was that for?
we could get
It's at
that partial load,
$5.95.
we'll,
And right now, we're still doing okay on price. Now, as the fuel price drops and people refresh their fuel, that won't last.
right.
Right now, we're actually still very competitive. We're about 5 to 10 cents under other airports in the region of our size, for self-serve. So I think we're okay on price. But we are getting into the winter season, and also I think we've become a little bit less of a fuel stop over the past year because our price has not been great. So anyway, that's where we're at with fuel. Okay, under new business, I believe we have some questions from Mr. Wolfram, correct? About your building.
Peter Wolfgram. I emailed color chart and proposed a beige, sandstone beige with dark brown
It
trim.
must be, well, it's gonna be this one here,
Page.
Oh, yeah.
because I think white is here.
Oh, yeah, right, okay, sure.
That
And brown trim, you said?
Yep. So apparently your new guidelines say you have to approve the
Yep.
colors.
No hot pink.
No.
Or polka dots. Okay, and I think your emails had a couple other things. Let's
Two
just
other
get them all done in
questions.
one fell swoop.
When building materials arise, obviously can't put it on the lot where I'm building. So is there an area that designated that we can put material? Building parts?
What have we done in the past? What did you guys do?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate to have that lot open, so I think that other lot to the west of me would be fine.
Were the two
Yeah,
we haven't made any.
two designated FBOs
Yeah.
or not?
Oh, is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't see why
Yeah.
not.
yeah, just leave it
I
there.
think that's
The
right.
only thing is, when you run equipment out, it kind of tears up the ground, you kind of have to go back and
Well, we-
reseed it, which I did,
Yeah. Second of all, there's gonna be, excavate foundation walls and whatever, there's gonna be a need to pile some of that stuff somewhere, till construction is finished. Need a spot for that out of the way somewhere by next spring. And then, do you want the spoils? The airport. When we built our hangar in Bozeman, they said haul it away. Now they say, no, it's ours. So I need to know whether,
I wonder if there'd be a place behind the, right straight behind the pilot's lounge,
There's a ditch right
back in there by
where
where
those two
the
open spots are.
substation
That would
is,
have to be
the
filled
big
in
switch
anyways.
I don't think you're gonna have much to haul off.
Yeah, I just
No.
wonder if
I-
getting
when I
trucks
did
in
mine,
and out of there.
I used it all.
We are actually
Loaders.
looking for some backfill for our, because we had to
Might tear
extend
that
our
area out.
apron after
Where, between
for
the
the taxi ramp into our
lobby and
hangar,
the
and
next
it's
hangar?
really, so we've been looking for some backfill, and we were actually supposed to get
Up-
some from
I was
Alan.
looking
Is
like,
that his
Yeah.
name? Is that his
um,
name? Or Al, and, so,
you familiar with
we may be
the
interested.
Yeah, that's a
And
great
it's
idea.
right-
If it's next spring, yeah.
big
just
switches
right
for
across.
the runway and so
Yep.
on and so forth out
All right.
there?
That's a
There's
question that
someplace
can probably be left
Between
hanging
there and
for a while, so.
inside the airport
Mm-hmm.
fence would be on the east side of the grass runway.
Okay, so we have color, the building material location, the dirt moving storage location, and then what to do with the,
Yeah,
The
if you
fit
want
runway.
it, if not, we'll haul it away. But if you want, if someone wants it for, or the airport itself wants it for fill, then, I mean, you can have it. Now, I don't know how much we'll have, if we'll have any, but we need to plan ahead.
Yeah.
So, and, right now, plans are still being reviewed by the state.
Oh.
So, yeah, the wheels of government turn
Yeah.
slowly, so.
tell us about it.
I can't do a whole lot anyway.
Do we need a motion to approve the colors, or is that just
I don't
Looks
think we
good.
need to, I think we
We could-
should.
We could do it just to be
I think we
concise.
should have it on record. Let's just discuss them all four together.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
So, let's take this point by point, and then we'll have a motion to approve our discussed about, resolutions for the four items. How does that sound? Okay, number one, color. Does anybody
Jeff?
have any thoughts on the color chosen?
Great. Yeah.
Looks wonderful. Okay, I agree. What to do with the building materials? One suggestion already was those two FBO, quote-unquote FBO hangar locations.
Mhm.
Is there any other ideas or
Sounds
comments
perfect.
on that?
There won't be anything interfering with Daryl's behind your hangar?
Yeah, no, that'd be perfect.
There's a hangar behind your hangar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Material location. I'm gonna call them the FBO lots.
Mhm.
Okay, the piles of the pit run or dirt material that's moved.
I think we ought to hold on to it as far as the airport board. We should hold on to it. If somebody's that's building a hangar, if it happens to be a little low in the area or something like that, there is some fill there that they can use.
Well, if Jess
Or,
can
or
use
if
it,
you, or if you need it, as you were
if Jess can
suggesting.
use it, why not let her use it?
Dwight, were you gonna say something?
Mr. Chairman, I could use some topsoil on the south end of the runway, by the lights there. There's quite a dip there that approaches onto the runway. Put a little grass in there, and that'll be tore up again when the runway gets done, but I don't know when that's gonna happen. I could use some topsoil there, and I think, putting that spot where Jess is talking about with any extra, because I can't get up with the mower there, because
It's-
it's too.
yeah, it's
too
pretty
stiff.
bad.
That'd be a great place to put some of that.
Okay.
I think we could find a home for most of it. Probably not gonna be a whole lot, it's just
Okay, so as far as what to do with the material when he's done, I think we're all, sounds like we wanna keep it. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's an expense saved, I guess. Where to put it is the last thing we have to discuss. Where do we want him to pile it in the meantime?
I would think in those lots.
Same
The
spot?
location would be.
Mhm. And we're gonna have the same discussion with Brian. Brian, are you still with us?
I sure am.
So this
It
may,
will be a conversation. I think we're going to be building our hangars at the same time. It's the same building manufacturer, same contractors, et cetera. So I think you'll have both projects happening at once,
okay,
more than likely.
so you likely have the exact same questions, and we can just get this all done for both buildings?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Do you have any color preference? Brian?
We don't yet. Actually, I'm going to leave that up to my wife, and then
Good call.
I will.
Oh, sure. Turn the tough ones loose.
Okay.
But it won't be hot, Adam.
It won't, huh?
It will not. No, I
Okay.
heard you make that comment.
Okay. So the one idea we have for the dirt piles is the same FBO lot locations. Does anybody, you had mentioned another spot.
Well, I don't know if there's room there or not. Would be behind that metal switch house that's out there that has the switches and that on the north to the northeast side. I don't know if there's a place in there that we could pile dirt. It would be readily available then from the access to the grass runway and it'd be out of the way.
Sure.
Which is
it's
gonna
piled
track a
up-
bunch
if
of
it-
stuff
if it-
across the
If
ramp.
it's stacked on the FBO lots, it's gonna have to be moved again someday, you know?
Yeah.
Well, is it fair enough
That's
to
a good
say?
point, because I spent a lot of time sweeping the taxiway every time those guys got done doing some excavating. I mean,
Yeah, the more we drive this dirt around, the bigger the mess is.
yeah.
And I
Well,
hate
would
to
it be
wreck
fair
that
enough
really
to
lush
s-
grass that's on those
Yeah.
lots. The good Kentucky bluegrass we have.
So
going.
Yeah.
there is a possibility that between 12 and 13, at least specific to, or between 12 and Darrell, there's going to be a 15-foot,
Yeah.
which you could get a skid steer in.
Yeah, I think you'll be surprised. You're probably gonna use the majority of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't
think
foresee,
there's
because of the slope, if you actually go out there, the slope, by the time you level things off, I don't expect there to be much extra.
Yeah, I had to haul some in.
I would say
And if
that,
we just ended up taking topsoil off, and that was trucked over to where Dwight needs it,
Yeah.
that's probably all.
I would say priority would be anything that Dwight feels needs to be filled in project-wise on the airport. If there was extra, I'd throw my name in the bucket. If there was extra after that, we could move it.
Yep.
Or
Okay.
whatever.
Okay, so what to do with the material is settled. Now the dirt piles, do we all agree that the same FBO lot location works? Are we all good with that? Okay, so here's how we're gonna do this. We're gonna split it into, because we have two different buildings, we're gonna split it, one for the color, one motion for the color, and one motion for the other three items regarding the material.
And we're gonna have to do that in the next meeting, because it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, you're right. This is new business, just a discussion, so.
Okay,
This is the discussion, so that'll be the
Good.
points on which we'll vote.
Good point of order.
Did you hear that, Brian?
I did, yes.
Okay, if you can come up with a color, we can take care of that at the same time next meeting.
Absolutely. I'll get that handled with my bride.
There you go.
wonderful. So we have the direction we want to go anyways, and we'll formalize it December 20th. Does that sound okay? Okay, if that could go on December 20th, wonderful.
So, I think we're under new business.
We are under new business still, and I have nothing left to bring. So.
I have a couple of things. I was visiting with Chris and Cody at the airport this afternoon, and a couple of things came up that they wanted to share with us. One was, essentially, apparently people are buying fuel at the fuel pump for snowmobiles, lawnmowers, and all sorts of things. And as part of that, there's traffic on that taxiway that's going back and forth. And apparently there have been some near incidents where people are nearly running into aircraft that are on the taxiway as they're trying to get by to get to the fuel, to buy fuel for things that we're not supposed to be fueling. So there was concern there that access to the airport is too easy, that people are ignoring the active airport signs at the entrance there instead of going into the parking area. And so one of the suggestions that was made was that there be a gate put in place at that point of entrance that restricts public access to the airport and taxiway. And the signage already says active airport And apparently that's not enough to dissuade people from using that as essentially a road to get to our fuel, to fuel things that are not appropriate for that sort of fuel use. So there's several things going on that are apparently troubling, I think, at this point, based on them being at the airport and seeing these activities. So, I don't know.
Why would they buy $2 more expensive fuel?
I
Because it
don't
doesn't
know.
go bad.
Is
Well-
it, I mean, back when we had muscle cars, you'd want to run the
Right.
100th
Yeah.
because you,
But this is 100 octane, so.
yeah.
Well, maybe that's what's going on with snowmobiles.
That's what they use it for.
Yeah. 'Cause it's
So we
harder.
have periodically had this discussion over the years about people using fuel for whatever, and our stance on it has always been they're buying fuel. It's none of our business if you put it in a Cessna or a Arctic Cat. Unless there's some liability there, which I can't imagine there's anything there. So I do think it's two different conversations.
It is.
That part doesn't, I could frankly care less, but maybe somebody has a different opinion, which is fine.
What about just posting a sign that says that the aircraft has the
Aircraft
has
right
right of way? I mean, whenever we were down in Bozeman driving around, they had signs posted that it was the aircraft has the right of way, irregardless.
Mhm.
Which you would think would be intuitively obvious, but
Well, we have to post
We
it for
can't
the
assume.
slowest buffalo in the herd.
The other concern was the gravel that's being pulled onto the
Yes.
taxiway, and, causing prop dings, so.
I think that problem will get eliminated once we get our project completed. I think the plan was to pave all the way past, back out to the road, out to the highway
Yeah.
with milling, so.
so it boils down to, we have, whoever that may not know the first thing about aviation, driving around airplanes and not respecting the danger that involves.
Right.
I think that's what it boils down to. I think that's
I
the
would agree.
issue.
I think that's true. They were just providing context for the driving around.
Mhm.
Couple inexpensive signs.
I think that's the first place to start,
And if there was an incursion or an incident, then the person obviously drove by him and they'd be liable. Not that we want it to go that far, but
Right.
unless it's posted, then they can plead ignorance.
You can see the gravel right in front of Ferguson's, went to the taxiway, there's
Yeah.
loose gravel there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I just brought it to the board's attention because, our airport folks are wanting to communicate that to us so that we're aware of what's going on.
I don't think it would hurt us too much to put up the sign that says aircraft have the right of way, right there where it says active airport. They
Yeah,
have
something to
they
the
have
effect
to
of-
say that when they cross that cattle guard.
Aviation-related use only, and aircraft have the right of way at all times.
It's probably a good insurance policy for us.
And so, good suggestion.
I'd be fine with that. Dwight, would you
Yeah, I'll see
maybe
what I can
research that?
State Aeronautics may have some of them signs too, Dwight.
Yeah.
Oh, good call. Okay, thank you. Any other new business?
I think Dwight mentioned in his speech something about talking about the FBO loan.
Yes, thank you. I had that written down and went right past it. So Dwight had brought up the idea, and this was your opinion, correct, that perhaps there could be better use than FBO in those lots?
Just my opinion only. And, one, we'd have the additional aircraft that would be buying fuel, and would have additional revenue from the lease. And by having more aircraft here, we might be able to recruit somebody that wants to put an FBO in. That was my thought. I just don't see that area being used, being a prime spot for somebody that wants to put in an FBO.
Yeah,
Just my opinion.
thank you. I think we all agree to that, and we've had that exact discussion here, and I think we all agree that that is no longer the prime location, especially with the project we have coming up. My thought on it is, we've saved those spots for 10 years. We're this close to getting a whole nother line of hangars, at which time I think we can all agree that that is no longer the most primary spot for an FPO. So, in my opinion, boy, we're this close to that project. If we could hang on another, well, it would be 8 months or something.
Right, so we had that.
Unless
project.
somebody has a differing opinion, then I'm all ears.
And, you know, Pesha can specifically design something where the new hangars are going that would be
Road access.
road access and everything for an FBO.
Alternatively,
have-
we could say it doesn't make any sense and change
Yeah.
it now.
Do we have anybody on the waiting list for a hangar or interest in, I mean, I know we don't have any spots, but,
Good point.
I mean, is there, or I guess, yeah.
I just got a phone call today from a guy that's moved to Toston, and he wanted to be put on, he didn't know how to get on the list and stuff, so I'll get this to Aubrey and she can send out the application.
Sorry, was having
I mean,
a
I
computer
think I'm
problem.
in agreement with Adam, like, let's not throw away what we've been waiting so long and holding on to when we're this close, but, you know, we can let the guy know that we're doing a project
Right. Tell
this
him
next year.
there is a
and-
possibility, a very good possibility that there will be a spot or two coming up. I've had people call me on it too, and I've requested they come to the board meeting because I didn't know exactly what was left and what wasn't off the cuff.
I think the other thing is we potentially need to use that space for building materials, for hangers. that are going up.
Congratulations, you have a
Yeah.
lot covered in dirt.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So do I
And-
send this person a lead, can I send this person
Lease application.
do you have a spot that I can send him from? or not?
What about just creating a master list of people as they come in, so that, because
For the
in the
first come,
prior
first
in the
served.
prior meetings, it was first come, first serve. So if you do keep a master list, and then people, if they drop off, you contact them first, and then when we finally secure everything to the south, where the cattle graze right now, once that's totally secured, then we can open it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what we decided, that Aubrey would compile a list and keep track of who came in when.
right.
We discussed it at each meeting as appropriate.
Yep.
Okay?
I think one other thing too that's gonna happen with our project, the water has to be moved and the lighting. That was one of the
That's right.
things that,
Oh, that's a good point. So that's another, I guess, pro, in the pro column of waiting for the
Yeah.
project.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we do agree with you, that,
Yes, yeah.
that makes sense, so.
Does anybody know of anybody else that's waiting?
I haven't had
This
anybody.
person, okay.
Okay, is there any other new business? I feel like I missed something. Am I missing something? Are we good? I think it was the FBO lots thing I was missing. Okay. There's no other new business or public comment? Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.